baby. Good to be in green and white.
You don't get no better than this, man. Hey, tune in. We about to put on the show.
The Pregame Central presented by Pepsi. Eric Allen and Anthony Becht here live at MetLife Stadium. It's the Jets and the Packers, and Sam Darnold has his festive holiday sweater on this morning. Anthony, how about that ugly sweater from the rookie quarterback?
I like it, man. He's all in. It shows me he's loose, which is great. We need a loose quarterback, and he's been playing well the last couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
A loose quarterback here as he is about to embark on his final home game of the 2018 season. Across the sideline, he'll be staring at one of the game's greatest players at the position of possibly all time, Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you look at Rodgers and what he's done in his career, you start picking away what are some of the things that Sam does that kind of resembles his game. And I think the number one thing you see is just the extension of a play. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that can elude sacks, and today that'll be a problem. Even though he's got that sore groin, he stated today it doesn't matter that he's hurt. He wants to be out here. He's going to fight through it for his team. That's the kind of mental prowess you want to have as a quarterback position, and Sam can learn from that. Obviously, he had some really high remarks to speak about Sam or about Aaron this week, so it's definitely a guy that if you want to pattern some of his game and take something away from it, it's the movement skills in the pocket to deliver big plays.
Oh, later on in the show, Chad Pennington will take a look at how Sam Darnold has been so effective as a passer, especially on third down, using his legs to extend plays. Olivia Landis is also going to join us, and she'll be with the Pepsi Fan of the Game. But speaking of Darnold, what have you seen from him as he's been back in action the past 2 weeks, specifically how he's taking care of the football?
Well, that's great. That's it. I mean, you talk about the success of quarterbacks in the NFL, and it really isn't about being a rookie, a first-year guy, a second-year guy, or a 20-year guy. It's really about not throwing turnovers. And you watch him, he's limited that. He's protecting the ball in the pocket. When you are a guy that likes to move in and out of the pocket, you've got to protect the ball because you never know who's chasing you to swat it away, and he's been really good with that. I think those games that he missed this year, even though he wanted to play, he's a competitor, and he probably could have been ready a little earlier, he learned a lot. He got to watch Josh McCown, watch the system, watch a pro kind of get it done, and really sit back and kind of critique himself, watch film, watch the pluses, the minuses throughout the season, what he's been able to do good, what he's been able to do bad, and then also, from a coordinator standpoint, pulling some of those good things and kind of expanding on those in the playbook, and you've seen that the last couple of weeks for him.
Can we go inside that just a little bit? Because a lot of people on the outside externally might say, well, what did he actually pick up from McCown? Because the Jets' offense wasn't having a ton of success, especially scoring the football, but just taking that step back, even watching a guy going through the preparations of a game week.
Well, yeah, that number one, they're in practice. Obviously, he's there every day with them, but when Josh takes the majority of the snaps, you get to see how the operation goes. Maybe you pull a couple things. When I was playing, I watched Fred Baxter play tight end when I was a rookie. You pull little things from their game, and it might not be the way they play. It's just their body language, things they say in the huddle, and you kind of build that around it. And then also in the game, when you're on the sidelines and watching on the film, you get to watch Josh where his eyes are, where his pre-snap read is initially, where his eyes are being taken because of the coverage, and then you start building some things on that because the plays are the same, and when those plays repeat themselves in practice and during the football games, he can kind of put those in his mind and remember and go back and kind of take a little bit of that from Josh's game.
AB, he's become a more confident player. You're seeing him be more decisive with his reads. He's going 1 to 2, and if it's not there, maybe sometimes moving immediately and not coming back and thinking that read, that first progression is actually at the same spot where he left off.
Look, it's the hardest position to play in sports, the quarterback position. He's a rookie. He knows that, and he's got to be smart at it, and I think that's the glaring thing I've seen. When protection breaks down, it can't be perfect every time. You got to have an outlet. You got to have a plan. You're right. Progressively, he's done a great job. I saw that in training camp in the preseason. But again, with live bullets and you see different defenses and the complexities of what coordinators are trying to throw at a rookie quarterback, you really see the steps of maturity in his game. And I also, you look at the intangible side as well, the emotions, the highs and lows of a football game, not getting rattled when mistakes happen, whether that's on him or someone else or a play breaks down and also being able to coach up some of the players, his receivers being on the same page. We've obviously seen some success now with some more players at the receiver position with him as well.
Sam Darnold's got ice water in his veins. We saw that in Buffalo a couple weeks ago. We saw him coming into the stadium today without a jacket. So the Southern California kid, he doesn't mind this at all. Let's flip to the other side of the ball. The Green Bay Packers, we mentioned Aaron Rodgers before. They are tied they're 28th in sacks allowed in the National Football League this year. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 5 times last week against the Chicago Bears. And the Jets, conversely, they're getting their pass rush game on track. 6 sacks of Deshaun Watson, and Henry Goose Anderson had a career day with 3.
He was out of his mind, wasn't he? And that guy, I loved watching. Henry Anderson to me is an unsung hero for this Jets team. Brings you a high motor effort every single play. He's got really good pass rush moves. They're not glaring, but they're subtle. And the technique is what wins one-on-one versus some of these offensive linemen. I think he can have a lot of success today in this game as well. Jamal Adams in the box, off the edge, in protection. He'll be a busy player today as well because he's got a very good tight end that'll have to go against Jimmy Graham as well in the football game. So you'll see a lot of movement from him, and also taking away the running game. Jamal Williams will be the running back today for the Packers because of Jones not being on the team with injury. So, let's get him, take him back. He hasn't gotten a lot of carries, obviously taking over that role. Good opportunity to really take advantage of it on the defensive side of the ball.
For weeks, we were wondering offensively what was going on with the Jets inside the 20. Well, they're getting some momentum there now. If you look at the stats, 15th in the National Football League, had a very successful week against the Houston Texans. And then on the opposite side of the ball, I look at the Green Bay Packers. They're 30th in red zone defense, so the Jets have an opportunity to keep that going offensively again today.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's a great point because, I think over the season the red zone's been a problem for the Jets this year. And really, when you watch what they've done the last couple weeks, it's been impressive. You got to score touchdowns. Even though we have a great kicker this year in Myers, you want to make sure you get those TDs. And 2 guys really come to mind, obviously, that bring a presence. Robbie Anderson, whether it's in the field, around the red zone, he has to be dealt with from a defensive perspective. And Chris Herndon, the tight end position. He's really
got to mention tight ends.
Yeah, well, he's really come on throughout the season, and he's been a nice target for Sam Darnold. And I think that needs to continue these last 2 games of the season because, you want to build momentum, and the confidence is there for both of those rookies, and they've been a nice complement for each other.
How about the success on 3rd down the last 2 weeks? In Darnold's first appearance back in the lineup in more than a month, they converted 46% of the time against the Buffalo Bills. Then last week, they upped that to 53% against the Houston Texans.
Impressive. That's hard to do. The NFL is all about defensive complexities, the speed, the size, the things that they bring. It's all about pre-snap reads. Sam gets out of the huddle, and you've got to digest a lot of what you're seeing. And if you can break that down quickly, you can make those plays. And you always have to assume the worst. If a guard breaks down or a protection breaks down, where's your next guy? What's the plan? And that may be dumping it down or using your legs, keeping your eyes, or moving the sticks with a run potentially. And I think still that's a big weapon that he continues to utilize in his game. But I think that can be even better for him in this one today.
Well, after Pregame Central, you're going to tune into CBS because Jets Flight Plan starts at 11:30 a.m. And I'm going to give you a sneak preview of what's to come right now because Chad Pennington broke down Sam Darnold's effectiveness on 3rd down the last couple of weeks. Let's take a look. Chad, we wanted to see progress from Sam Darnold. We continue to see that over the last couple of games, including last week against the Texans. He did some damage with his arm and his feet. Let's first talk about this run in the 4th quarter. It's a 3rd and 10 play, and Darnold makes it happen himself.
This was really nice to see Sam scramble for a big 1st down run on 3rd down late in the game. And what I really liked about this was his recognition. He could feel that the left side of the pocket collapsed, and there was a lot of space on the left side for him to get this 1st down. He recognizes it immediately and takes advantage of it.
6 rushes in all for 35 yards, but he was also 24 of 38 as a passer for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. Here on this play, he's flushed out to the right in the 4th quarter, but he doesn't cross the line of scrimmage, and he keeps his eyes down the field.
Well, you must have an ability as a quarterback to extend the play with your legs, but also remain a passer. And this is what Sam was able to do on this third down. You can see he's getting ready to make a run for the first down, but then he sees Chris Herndon pop open down the right-hand sideline and was able to make a play with his arm. This is really good by him with his vision, keeping his eyes down the field, thinking that he's going to have to run to try to get the first down, but remaining a passer and being able to make this first down with his arm instead.
You are watching Pregame Central presented by Pepsi. Eric Allen and Anthony Becht here at MetLife Stadium. The Jets are wrapping up their home schedule for the 2018 season today against the Green Bay Packers. That means Aaron Rodgers in town. This might be the last time, AB, that Jets fans will get to see Aaron Rodgers in person.
Well, I'll tell you, he's a prolific passer. He's got arm strength. He's able to make the awkward throws, and that's a big part of a quarterback's game. You see his angles of his arm when he throws the football up here to the side. He's off balance, and he seems to hop on every throw. It's amazing how he generates the force and power to throw the football. I mean, look at those numbers. I mean, that's as impressive as it can be, but the record of the team doesn't add up to what the production was on the field for him. Some people say he extends the play too long and holds the ball in his hand and doesn't take the yards, and that's great for us. So defensively for the Jets, I would keep everything in front of you. There's really one guy, like last week against the Texans. DeAndre Hopkins was the one receiver that could beat you, and he took advantage of us. This week we got to make sure that the Jets really hone in on Adams, because he can be a one-man wrecking crew with 100 catches on the season.
Well, let's go back to Rodgers just for a second. You just mentioned it. Passed for nearly 4,000 yards. He's got 23 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. But if you talk to people in Green Bay, they are saying he's having a down year. It doesn't look like the Aaron Rodgers that we've seen in the past. Do you think maybe these injuries have really maybe negated his effectiveness? And also, it's kind of a weird spot right here for the Green Bay Packers. They have not had back-to-back losing seasons since 1990 and 1991. And A-Rod said this week, I want to be out there on the field. What kind of leader would I be if I didn't join my teammates out there to finish these last 2 games?
He's tremendously tough. We know that. He had the knee injury earlier in the season. Probably should have missed some games for that. Wore a brace, came out in the same game and continued to play. And then he's got the sore groin from last week's game. So, again, how will his mobility be on the field today versus the Jets defense, which could be a big advantage, especially the fact that, if we bring some of them blitz packages on third down. For me, I just look at him. I think he's pressing a lot.
Yeah?
He's trying to make a lot more plays, even though his numbers look good. If you didn't watch a game, you'd say he's having a great year, but I just feel like he's trying to make a big play every single snap. Quarterbacks do that, and with the coordinator obviously and the head coach being fired, Mike McCarthy, that relationship hasn't blossomed maybe the last couple of years that they had thought. Look, they got nothing to lose today. That's the most dangerous quarterback you can play against, a guy that really is out there just trying to do what he can, throw the ball around, and today could be a dangerous player versus the Packers if we don't handle him correctly.
All right, so DeAndre Hopkins, the aforementioned DeAndre Hopkins last week, 10 catches, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. He single-handedly, I thought, was the big-time difference maker that made the Texans a winner. You mentioned Davante Adams. He's got 1,300 yards receiving. He's got 12 touchdowns through 14 games. What do you want the Jets to do in terms of the matchup today? Because Todd Bowles said last week they played sides because the Texans moved DeAndre Hopkins all over the field. Well, much like Hopkins, the Packers are going to move Davante Adams all over the field too, right?
You know what? I'll tell you, you look at a guy like Adams, you're thinking, man, you can't press him because he's got tremendous speed and, he's got great route running ability. He can cross the field, but for me, if he's in a position where he's lined up, not moving, I get in his face and jam him off the line of scrimmage. You got to think, like we talked about Aaron Rodgers, with mobility issues and potential protection problems, that if he doesn't get off the line of scrimmage and he's got to alter his route, the timing won't be there. And then, you can always have a safety or somebody in the back end to help out in that protection process. So don't let this guy run free. Yeah. If you give him space, do you
want Trumaine Johnson on him?
It doesn't matter. Him or Claiborne just need to be very active today, and they need to find the football. And when you're running with him man-to-man down the sidelines or across the field, don't try to, find yourself trying to get an interception. Track the hands and the eyes of the wide receiver. So that ball comes to him, you can swat and knock the ball away. Saw a couple of those instances in the game last night with the Chargers and the Ravens that they were able to pull the catch in, but the defenders were able to swipe it down. Those sometimes are bigger than trying to get the interception.
Is he on the same level of a DeAndre Hopkins? Stats says he is.
No doubt. You look at the targets, I think he's the most targeted receiver in the NFL. And everybody knows he's getting the ball. That's the biggest thing. When teams know you're getting it and you're the main force and you're the only guy and you're still catching footballs, that speaks volumes about speed, route running, and your ability to catch a ball in contested areas. He's done every one of those things, and he's been tough.
The Jets are dealing with a lot of injuries up front along the offensive line. We know Jonathan Harrison has filled in awfully well at the center position. Spencer Long, who started his career out at guard, has moved back to guard in the position for James Carpenter over on the left side. Now Brandon Shell went down last week against the Texans, unfortunately. He had surgery this week on the knee. That means Brent Qualley probably lining up at right tackle today for the Jets. What kind of assignment do these tackles have today against Clay Matthews?
Well, yeah, Clay Matthews is a stud. And, he may not have the statistics of year to year, but he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. He's gotten close a lot of times, just hadn't gotten to the quarterback as much. Fackrell's a guy also that's going to bring some pressure. Yeah. Here's the thing. Mike Pettine's the defensive coordinator. He's not dumb. He's going to try to bring pressure where the weakness is. And the weakness is usually the guys that haven't played as much, the guys that haven't had the snaps during the season. And you look at us, if Brent Qualley's playing tackle today, that's definitely where I would bring pressure, just because he hasn't had the amount of reps during the season, live reps, to take on those pressure looks, and you try to confuse guys. So look, he can have a real big game for us today, or it can be a tough one for him, and you got to have your back in protection to help that side as well.
Do you use a tight end at times to help him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we always use multiple tight ends, anything from a chip to, just getting in the space or in front of him so he has to go around or inside of you can always bring that extra half a second you need to get the ball out. So Sam Darnold has to be cognizant of that today. He's got to make sure that even though, he may not have the numbers from a sack standpoint, he can still get to you, and that internal clock has to be on time for him.
You mentioned Mike Pettine before. We know he's going to be throwing a ton of different looks at Sam Darnold. So far this season, despite dealing with a number of injuries, the Packers are 9th in the NFL in pass defense. Yeah. But you see a matchup possibly that favors the New York Jets as far as their ground attack and Eli McGuire, because the Packers are giving up 124 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah, their run stuffer up front, Kenny Clark, is not going to play in this football game. So, listen, the last 2 weeks, Elijah McGuire had 17 carries 2 weeks ago, which is his high, and then last week he had 18. So they're trying to get it, and he's very close to breaking a big run. I think today may be the day, a good opportunity. He runs hard. He's got fresh legs, obviously, and I think he's got a good chance of stepping up and being a huge factor in this football game. And if we can get that balance with the Jets on offense, that really opens up things in the passing game.
All right, you have to stay tuned for our fearless predictions, because Anthony Becht and myself are on a streak right now. But first, let's go out to Olivia Landis, who's with our Pepsi fan of the game.
I'm currently here with the Pepsi fan of the game, Eric, who has been a Jets fan for 26 years, his entire life. Eric, first tell me some of your tailgating traditions with you and all of your huge crew.
Well, we always do some premio sausage. We got some steaks, shrimp, sandwiches, everything.
And what is one of your favorite parts about being a Jets fan?
The fans. Look at this group is great. We always have a good time. We get drunk. We have a great time. Yeah.
If there's one message that you could give to other Jets fans out there, what would it be?
Keep hope. We're going to get this one of these years. We're going to have this. Keep the hope alive.
Thanks, Eric, and congratulations to our Pepsi fan of the game. And if you want a chance to be our next Pepsi fan of the game, be sure to watch Pregame Central presented by Pepsi before every Jets home and away game. Back to you, EA.
You are watching Pregame Central presented by Pepsi. Eric Allen and Anthony Becht here at MetLife Stadium. Remember, following the show, turn on to CBS here in New York, 11:30 a.m. Jets Flight Plan. We'll have Chad Pennington, Bart Scott, Otis Livingston's going to sit down with Todd Bowles in the Play MGM studios. We have you covered each and every game day. I can't believe the home season is coming to a conclusion already, Anthony. I've really enjoyed our time together up here. You coming to all the home games and providing this tremendous analysis, and I know fans at home are really getting a kick out of it as well.
I appreciate it, man. Happy holidays, a happy new year to the fans as well. It's been fun. It's always great to come back, and hopefully there's more in the future.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Okay, fearless prediction time. Anthony Becht is on a roll. What are you going with today?
Well, you know, it's no secret that Robbie Anderson is starting to catch some fire with Sam Darnold the last couple of games. He hasn't been able to crack that century mark the last half of the season. So I'm going to go with Robbie Anderson over 100 yards receiving in this game. Listen, it's all about confidence, it's all about flow, and it's about getting open for your quarterback. And when you do that, you win football games. So, I think that he has a great opportunity today to do that.
You never know what's going to happen here live, and some folks decide to go right through the camera.
Had to be a Packers fan.
Yeah, I had to be a Packers fan. Maybe it was Clay Matthews. He's getting ready for the ball game here. But I told you last week Eli McGuire was going to score a touchdown.
Yep.
I told you Robbie Anderson was going to score a touchdown. Let me ride Eli McGuire one more time. He's going to get in the end zone for a third consecutive game, and he'll have 100 combined yards. Finally, Anthony. No,
100-yard running back and a 100-yard receiver today.
No, I said 100 combined yards.
Oh, combined. All right, we got
rushing
that.
and receiving.
All right, we got it.
Finally, I don't want to break the hex, but the Green Bay Packers are 0-7 on the road. A Packers team has not been winless on the road in a season going back to 1958.
Yeah, I'll tell you, they just had a lot of injuries this year, a lot of things banged up, transition to the coaching staff. Those things will cause you to lose every game. And, seeing that goose egg is strange. Again, I go back to the statistics of a guy like Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. How do you not win a game on the road? So, listen, let's keep the trend going, right? So I think the Jets have a good chance in this football game to really show out. And if they execute today, they can have success.
Great job as always. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We'll be back here post-game. For Anthony Becht, I'm Eric Allen.